Hello there, Mind, Mood and Food pod podcast listeners,
Pod people.
pod people. I don't know what I call you. Welcome to another episode of Mind, Mood and Food, and we are here. In the depths of January. Well, you are in the depths of January. We're in September, but I understand we're putting this out in January, and I think it's very good, the topic that we're talking about today, very fitting for January. How is your life balance? Sounds very intriguing. I'm not quite sure what the heck we're going to go in here. Is it about a seesaw? What is it about?
Standing on one leg.
We're doing the tree pose. I don't know. Why don't you enlighten us, Adele?
Oh, I'd love to enlighten you. I'm not sure I've got the power to do that. You know about being enlightened,
Yeah.
but one step before, one step at a time. What we're talking about with life balance today is something I love to do really every few months. Definitely January is a really good time to just look at your life as a whole and just check, are you focusing on the right things? Are you focusing on things that you actually value and you want to be focusing on? Are you pouring time and effort and energy into something that isn't really serving you? It's just kind of like doing a little bit of a life audit, if you like.
Hmm.
So that's what I mean. There's a few different ways you can do this. There is, and I'll go into this in a minute. There's something called the Wheel of Life, which is a very popular coaching tool,
Yeah.
and there's different kind of segments on it. You can really, break it up into what segments you like. But there's some, tried and tested ideas there for people, and give yourself a little score in each one, in each segment, and then you get this rough idea, this picture of where you're at.
Yeah.
And it's usually a really good tool to get people to go, "Oh, bloody hell, I didn't know I was kind of so
Yeah.
out of balance." So that's really good. But I wanted to just touch on a different way of looking at it first in this book, which is called The Art of Stopping Time.
Ooh.
And I like this term. It's written by an urban monk. I like that.
An
Practical
urban monk.
mindfulness for busy people.
Mm.
Pedram Shojai. I was pronouncing that right, probably not. But literally day one, so it's like there's a little task every day, I think for like a year, so it's really good time to look at it in January. And your first task is called assembling your life garden. And I'll read you a little bit from it because I think it's just a lovely metaphor. He says, you have limited water and need to leave space for each plant to flourish. So you're going to imagine you've got your garden and your energy and your time is the water.
Mm.
So some plants may be bigger than others and more important to you than others. And some you may not even like, but you're obliged to keep there. So you're kind of like, oh, I really don't want to have to do this, but I do. So if it's something you have to do, it might be looking after a family member that you're kind of like, but it's something that's taken a lot of your time and energy. So it's that kind of thing, your job even, to keep the roof over your head. But think about what's important to you and what would make it into your life garden. And you might want to be thinking about your family, you might want to be thinking about your health, certain relationships, but also like fun things like hobbies that you do,
Mm.
passions that you have, your own growth. And you can list these items and then imagine how much energy needs to go into each. Think of your energy as the water you need to nourish and grow each plant. It comes in the currency of time, effort, willpower, and attention. So obviously you've only got 24 hours in every day. You've only got a certain amount of energy, time, willpower. If you were to adequately nourish each plant, how much of that time and energy would it take? And some may take more than others. So you've got to make an allowance for that. And I like this bit that it says, so say, you really want a new car and you want a fancy car, it's that kind of thing where people want to keep up with the Joneses and they want a car. But have you then considered that if you want one, you're going to have to put a little bit more time and energy into your career plant, your work plant. You might have to get a little extra job, part-time job. You might have to do some overtime. You might have to save the money to afford the car. Just be aware of that. You then might decide that particular plant, because it's causing this other plant over here to need all this extra time and effort, it's not really what you want after all. You're like, do you know what? I could probably make do with the car I've got, or just get one that's going to take a little bit less effort to maintain, a bit less money to maintain, so that I can work less. Because actually what I've decided for me is, my work-life balance is more important, and I actually want to be working less, not more. So in which case, I don't want the big house. I don't want the big car. Because if you're going to move house and get the bigger house, if you're going to want to go out on, meals, lots of meals every week, if you're going to want to go on fancy holidays, well, how are you going to pay for that? How are you going to fund that? So I think it's a really nice way of kind of like stepping back at this time of year and looking at it and just getting realistic, because we haven't got unlimited energy reserves, or time or money. So all of those things that is the water. So you really need to be looking at no more than 10 kind of these plants, really between 5 and 10, which is, not that many. If you sit down and start making that list, how many have you got already that are on the go that need energy?
your time and attention and your energy. You know what, I like that a heck of a lot, because I use the Wheel of Life, but I like that vision of the garden and using that to see how big that plant needs to flower for you.
Is it like a bloody big tree that sometimes it might feel like that, might it? I mean, we're in our own business, and I just feel like that is a triffid, because the amount of time and energy it takes to do the marketing, to do the sales, to do the work with the clients, to build your own energy reserves back up, to pour out. Because if you're a light worker and you're working with people, you have to be aware that you're pouring energy into that. And so if you don't then look at so you might have another little plant that's over in the corner, like it's not even in the sun, and that might be your health and your energy and so think about that, because so many women, so many people that are, in business or have demanding careers, they're pouring all the time and effort into this plant, which is like growing like a triffid, which is, lovely. You've got this really healthy plant over here. You might have lots of money, but over in the corner is the poor little health and vitality plant that's going, I've not had a drink for 3 weeks and I've not been in the sun. And it's going to take its toll. Like the little leaves are going to start. I've got a plant. I'm not very good with house plants, but I know when it needs water, because the leaves are great on this plant. I don't know what it's called. They open when they're hydrated, and then they close. They kind of fold in on each other. So when it needs a drink, because it's all the leaves are kind of folded in. And they close like that.
You know what? I need one of those, because I just
good. It tells me. It's like, I need a drink. So think of it like that. If you're not watering and looking after the plant that is on your list, which it should be on your list. So if you've done your list and you haven't put yourself on it, that's telling in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Because no matter whether you've got your own business, your own family, your own job, house, whatever it is, I know it's kind of cliche to say this, but it's absolutely true. You need to put yourself right at the top, because if you're not right at the top, you're not giving back to the people that you love and to the things that you love what they need.
I think it is, you're right. I think you see so many times on social media and things where people say, fit your own oxygen mask before you look after someone else, fill your own cup, you can't pour from an empty cup. We all see it, the memes, the quotes, we like it. Oh yeah, that's so true. But I wanted to cover this to give people this exercise to say, well, you might be, ticking the box and just saying, oh yeah. I go to, like I always say, people brilliant. If you have a yoga class you go to, maybe you go once a week, brilliant. And you go, that's that. But it's not enough, because if for the rest of the time you're out of balance and you're just going and going and going at a million miles per hour, I was just talking to a lady in class this morning, who said she's new to class and she's like, oh, I should have looked after this side of me much more. She's now got like problems, hips and knees and things like that. She's really, really fit, always been active all her life, but she's poured so much into fitness. I want to be fit. I want my muscles to be strong. So it's this kind of like go, go, go mentality, do more, do more, do more. But she's neglected the stretching and the relaxation and the recovery, and the nervous system. And it's all too common. So people, I just hope this reaches a few people that take the time to sit down and to just, come at it from a different way and think, yeah, how is my balance actually, life balance? And we can do the wheel of life in a moment, but it's just looking at all the plants, all the segments, and saying, yeah, if I'm really honest, is this nice and balanced? Have I got, like, if you were to score each segment out of 10, am I scoring, sixes and sevens and eights in all the areas that I think are important? Or am I all in on one or two areas like work and fitness or whatever, and everything else is just getting neglected? Because that will come back to bite you at some point, and that's when you start listening. And that's when it's really hard then to bring it back into balance, because now you're poorly, you've got dis-ease in the body, or you're injured. And then you're like, damn it, I should have done it sooner, which is, this lady was saying to me, I was like, you need to come and be interviewed, because this is exactly what I'm always saying. But people don't prioritize the parts of their life balance that should be prioritized until then it's, not too late, but until then it's kind of
until it's a lot more difficult to bring balance back. And I think that's a really, really good point. Yes, there's a lot of things about self-care and putting the oxygen mask on, but it's having that self-awareness first and foremost of where the heck you are in this cycle, in this garden, to start off with, before you can even start putting that oxygen mask on.
Before you can decide how much bloody oxygen you need, right? Because carrying on with our analogies, yeah, if you're aware, I always say everything starts with awareness. If you're aware, you're more mindful, you're more conscious every day of kind of like, how much are you working? How much are you resting? If you were to look at your even just your day, never mind your life, and just look at your calendar and say, how much of my time in a typical day is spent doing? How much of my time is doing fairly stressful things that, cause me to have my heart rate to be a little bit quicker, or that cause me to feel a little bit of anxiety or stress? How much of my time do I spend resting? And for most people, that's probably like when I'm asleep. I rest when I'm asleep, and that might not be, brilliant. Your sleep might be affected. So is that proper rest? Just relying on your sleep is not enough, because if you're living the rest of your window of your 24 hours, and that 16, 17, 18, 19 hours or whatever is spent up here on the ceiling, how can you expect your poor body then to do all that it needs to do when it's asleep? People then wonder why their sleep's affected, why they've not got good sleep, good quality sleep, and why they're waking up in the night, where their mind is racing, and why they can't come down, because you're operating up here and then expecting it to come straight down. It's like, right, well, it's time to go to bed now. Why am I not asleep?
Well, yeah, I think we've both said this in the past as well. We are human beings, not human doings.
Yeah, and it's just the way that society is set up, the structure of society, it's a shame, really. It encourages all of the doing. I was just saying this to my husband yesterday when we were out for a walk, because there's something that Scotland's trialing, a 4-day work week or something like that, instead of a 5-day work week or something. And he was saying lots of people at his place of work have gone on reduced hours, constricted hours. What's the word? Anyway, less hours,
Yeah.
but maybe for the same pay, but fitting it into 4 days, or just reducing their hours. And it's like, yeah, why is it that we've set up to work 5 days a
9 to 5,
week, 9 till
5
5,
days
and
a week.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, or like, so why are we working much more than we're resting? But I get it, and if you're on shift patterns, it's even worse for your sleep and things like that. But yeah, there might not be something you can do about that straight away, but at least having that awareness that, if you're working so many days a week on shift, or you're working 9 to 5, or you're working even longer than that, and then your activity at the end of that day is, right now I'm dashing off to the gym to go on the spin bike. This is something I come across.
Mm-hmm.
People then, because they're used to doing everything at top speed, the activity that they
It's top
choose to
speed.
help with health
Mm.
is fast vinyasa flow yoga, it's spin bike, it's power walking or power yoga, it's all the power things.
Mhm.
And
Which
then
keep you up
it
in that
just keeps
balance.
you up there, yeah. So
Yeah.
you're up here and you're not coming down. Um, so just looking at your typical day to say, is my day balanced?
Mm.
How much time do I spend, as I was saying, with the wheel of life, with friends? How much time do I spend with people that I value, like building good quality relationships and connection? Because connection's really important to our health. It's probably more important than we realize. Well, it is more important than we realize.
No, so much so, crikey, when that connection was taken away a couple
Yes,
of years ago, you just saw
again,
the
only until
rise.
it
Yeah.
was too late did people realize, oh, I really need this,
Yeah. You just saw the rise
physical contact, not
yeah,
just over digital. So if
in
you
the
did
rise of
want
mental
to,
health and physical health issues. Sorry, I jumped in there.
no, that's fine. Yeah, there was a study done, as I was going to say, on connect. It wasn't done on connection, it was just done about like health and wellness and things like that. But it's like the longest running study. I think it was with Harvard students, but they've passed the study down into different people's hands so that they continue to follow the same people, the children of those people, the children of children. So they've got all this data. And I was listening to a podcast, I think it was on Stephen Bartlett one, the Diary of a CEO, the guy, I can't remember the guy's name, that is now the custodian of this study. But what the one thing when he said the takeaway, what was your biggest takeaway? How what's the biggest difference of people's health? And obviously, there's so much you could think about: sleep, you could think about exercise, diet, everything that we talk about here on Mind, Mood, and Food. But the thing that he said was connection, the
Mm.
difference in people's health. So for somebody that's lonely, for somebody that lives on their own, for somebody that doesn't see people, or that not only doesn't see people, but that has someone, that's in their corner, that's got their back, that like,
Yeah.
that they can go to for support. Like, who would you ring if something happened? So that's important. So if you're neglecting that side of your life balance, because you're busy working, because you're busy with your, building your empire, or, keeping up with your fitness. But maybe then if you're part of a gym, or you could join a walking club, so that there are things that you can do. If you are feeling lonely, join a club, reach out to people, and just, really, really think about that, not just kind of like, oh, well, I've not got a partner, I've not got, instead of being in victim mode, if you like, what can you
What
do
can
to
you do?
redress that balance?
Yeah. Yeah. God, I'm sure that'll hit home for one or two people, just knowing that it's that connection. But as I was saying just a minute ago, I think that came so apparent,
Mm,
through 2020, through 2021, the huge rise, and it's still not coming down, it's still rising, and the amount of mental health issues, physical health issues as well, because they're both intertwined. Connection, definitely. And even to the point of kids now having
mm,
the difficulty of not being connected, and the difficult communication. skills of, they've been eroded. So
Absolutely. Again, like we say, this is to look at it as an overview, but
yeah.
it might be a good conversation for another day that, yeah, the children are children, not just the children, but adults, how easy it is to just sit there and scroll through social media and think we've got connection by typing something onto a screen and typing comments. It's not the same as, building relationships and building connection with people. And again, if you are like Margaret and I, you've got your own business, you do often fall into that loneliness trap of being in on your own all day. So going out and doing things like networking or meeting people, just, building those relationships. Like Margaret and I met, we literally just met in person recently, and I couldn't believe
Hello.
it. We've been doing this for about 2 years. We were like, let's meet up for lunch. And
Yeah.
it was weird, wasn't it? We
Yeah.
had to like really make ourselves do it to find that time to go, do you know what? We're only like an hour away from each other.
Yeah.
Let's go and meet for lunch. And it was lovely. It's way different to doing it like this, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Sitting face to face. So you might find that go out, make connections, build some business besties that, you can just, I love like chatting to people who are in business because it's not easy. You get that empathy from each other and like even tips and advice, and so that connection is just one part of that wheel. So maybe, yeah, we could talk about this connection and relationships. We could do another podcast on for sure. But just to finish off with the wheel, if you did want to do this, if you are watching on YouTube, I've done a real little
Oh,
rudimentary Blue Peter diagram.
oh, brilliant.
So
Fantastic.
you could do a little screenshot. And again, you could have these, don't worry if you're not watching, if you're listening on something else, I'll talk you through. But you could do this with different titles, like I said.
Yeah.
The general rule of thumb is to draw a circle, to split it in half again, so into quadrants, and then half and half again. So you've got 8 segments. And then you just label them 1 to 8. Number 1 is your work, where I think lots of people pour a lot of time and energy.
Yeah.
And then a separate little segment for money and finances, because that could be a totally different score. You might feel really fulfilled. And how to score this is just kind of like just gut feel, excuse the pun with the gut health expert. Gut feel, don't overthink it. I think 0 is rubbish and
Yeah.
10 is like, it's
Amazing.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And it could just be, are you feeling like you're spending too long every week in this one particular segment, so you're just pouring way too much time and energy into it? That could reduce your score a little bit. Increasing the score would be, you're really happy with it, it's thriving, you feel fulfilled, you've got all of the energy, the water to pour onto this particular plant. So again, thinking of it like a plant, is this segment thriving? Are the leaves green? Is it growing? Is it not stagnant? It's continuing to grow. Does it light you up? Are you happy with this area of your life? And then you just draw a little, once you've scored it, the higher up the segment. So let's say work is kind of like half, you draw like a little arc halfway up your segment and just draw that in. Then money and finances, you might be again thinking work's brilliant, but it pays rubbish. So your finances, or you've got a lot of debt, that's kind of like bothering you about that segment. So that would bring your score down. You've not got a lot of savings or whatever it might be, investments. You'd like it to be better. Or it could be that that particular plant is thriving for you. So you'd give it like an 8 or a 9. Then you've got segment number 3 is your health. How's that feeling for you right now? Segment number 4 is friends. So are you neglecting your friends, or have you got loads of friends? Do you go out regularly? Do you see your friends? Do you speak to them on the phone? Keep in touch. Number 5 is love. So do you have a partner? Do you have love? Do you have sufficient love that meets your needs? If your relationship, you've got one, but it's not great, it's kind of like going through a
Obviously,
bad
love with
patch at the
yourself
minute.
as well. Flipping it.
Self-love, exactly. Absolutely. So yeah, where are you getting that from, that love? And it could be, as you say, yourself. Number 6 is kind of like personal growth. So sometimes people are all in on that. I'm a big personal growth person, so mine's coloured right in because I'm always doing stuff that helps with that. But some people may not even think about it. Number 7, which is one of my favourites, is fun. and rest, or think about it like play.
Yeah.
So oftentimes we do things because we think we have to do them.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you do day to day, not just because you have to do it, not just because it's like, if you have to exercise because you think you have to exercise to keep yourself well, what are you doing like that's just for fun? Are you going to dance class just because you love it, or joining a choir, or are you baking or cooking or pottering in the garden just because you love it? And then the last one is your spiritual segment. So do you even have a spiritual journey? Are you on a spiritual journey? And that doesn't have to be religion. So it's like people sometimes get that confused. Just believing in something that's kind of like bigger than you, a higher power, the energy, the universe. How connected are you to, let's be honest, there's stuff out there that is way bigger than us as the individual. This universe was around for billions and billions of years before we got here, and it will still be around for a long time after, I'm sure. So yeah, connection to your spiritual side. So yeah, just give yourself a little score. And it might be an eye-opener to where you're out of whack, where your plants are withering and dying, and where you need to pour a little bit more energy and water. Let me know.
Oh, I do like that. It's just having the awareness there to start off with is definitely the absolute key, and it's the perfect time of year to just look into this, and as you say, revisit it.
Keep regularly,
and just have it there. So whatever flower, plant, tree, whatever Triffid does need looking after, then at least you've got that awareness to push things around and rehash, shall we say.
Yeah, because like I said, probably need to revisit this one to give people ideas of how to get that balance a little bit better, because things like boundaries and saying no to things so that you can say yes to other things, that's all going to come into it, and that might be something to do with your communication. So I think that relationship communication type thing we could definitely talk about another time. Let us know if you would like to.
So if you let us know if you've got your wheel of life drawn, your plants in your garden, which one needs watering, which ones are you going to concentrate on? Give us a comment, and please do ding the bell or whatever it is, and not my personal one. My name is Margaret Bell.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Ding
You
ding
can
the
ring
bell.
my bell.
And subscribe. But yeah, we do. I'd love to see what comments we get from this, and if someone is going to start using that wheel of life, just to open their eyes and understand what's going
to
on.
live more consciously with more awareness. This has been the theme for the podcast. I think just open your eyes to your life balance, at least pay some attention to it, rather than just constantly living on that treadmill, as it were.
Yeah, get off the treadmill, start living life in balance, and would love to hear from you. So thank you very
talk
much.
to us, build a relationship with us. We're here.
We are.
You're very welcome.
That was absolutely brilliant. I loved that one. And yeah, subscribe, ding the bell, and we will see you next time.
We'll see you in February.
Yeah.
It'll soon be light, people. It'll soon be light. Hang in there.
Whoop, whoop.
Bye for now.
Bye.